What's up, everybody? It's Josh Trent. Welcome back to the podcast. This is a special video AMA, and I have someone really, really amazing that I want to introduce you to. You've heard her on other AMAs. Her name is Mar. She's from an island in the middle of the ocean, and I'm not going to lie, I'm jealous because I miss the ocean out here in Texas. Mar, welcome to the studio.
It's so good to be here. It doesn't feel real.
It feels real to me because we've been cold plunging, we've been saunaing, we've been working out together. It's been epic. And so we actually get to walk the talk today. It's been such a joy to get to know you as a human, as a person. Like the Zoom connection is one thing, and y'all can relate to this. Like, you ever have relationships that are only computer-based and they're not actually real? And then you meet somebody in person, you're like, wow, you're even better than you are online. You're even better than this digital phenomenon that I experience.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this today. There's something that we were on a walk yesterday. So we're on a retreat right now, which is super cool, a team retreat. And we were on a walk, and out of nowhere, I just stopped and we looked at this massive land. It was probably like 20, 50 acres. And this conversation of money, which, by the way, we're on an AMA today, which is Ask Me Anything. And we're about to share something really specific about money. So this AMA is about the beliefs, the stories, and the bullshit that we believe is real when it comes to money. So if you've been struggling with money, make sure you subscribe right here, right now on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're listening or watching. But if you want to listen to a full-length episode, that's going to be on Tuesdays. So you can subscribe to the channel if you want a really long, in-depth podcast with a guest. That's on Tuesdays. So rich people are bad, your mom told you, which I think is fascinating. My mom said the same thing. And this concept of money, it's been so demonized. It's been so wounding for people, like the concept of what money even is. And the trippy part about money is it's literally just a tool.
It is.
I'm holding a water glass and I could nourish myself with this water, or I could drown somebody with it. I could kill someone with a hammer, or I could build a home. And I think it's just so trippy. It's such a wild ride that we've been on with money, because I can relate to this. Like, y'all let us know in the comments, do you have a money wound? And I say that with respect too, right? And reverence, because a money wound is truly a wound. It's this imprint that our mom or dad or somebody in our family that we loved or cared about, they basically just told us that money is bad. Money doesn't grow on trees. And the only way you make money is by taking advantage of other people. It's just absolute insanity. Yet there's a part of our deep psyche that believed it at that time. And I think what everybody can hold on to here is the truth around poverty and wealth. I believe, and I flash back to an episode that we produced with Dan Martell, where he said, you'll never earn more than a penny that you think you're worth. So just let that land for a minute. Like, you'll never earn more than a penny of what you think you're worth. So if you think you're worth $10 an hour, life will give you that. You ain't going to make much more than that. If you think you're worth $100 an hour, eventually you'll develop the skills and the ways of being in order to call that in, because nature hates a vacuum. But I want to throw this to you because we're here in person. It's so special. And typically this energy of masculine and feminine, where Mar happens to be a wonderful woman, I happen to be a man. We're both on the path of discovery and consciousness. I wonder if you could take us back to the moment when you remember your mom saying that rich people are bad, because there's literally an imprint on your psyche at that moment, right? So what was that for you? Do you remember where you were, or when you believed this BS story about money? And God bless your mom. No offense to your mom,
she's
right?
a good person.
She was just operating with the consciousness that she had, which we all are. But do you remember the moment when you're a little girl?
I don't remember it from when I was a child, but I remember she said it last year.
Oh, she recently said it too.
Oh yeah. It's still in her. Like she's living with that feeling still. And I remember I told her money is not bad. Like, the episode we had with Adrian Brambila.
Yes.
He said that money is not bad. It's the people who have it, who actually control it and decide what to do with it. And so that kind of made me switch my mindset around it. And I realized, like, the business that I want to have in the future, and it's amazing that I can talk to you about it. And I know that in other jobs, like, you wouldn't be able to just share. It's like, oh, I have dreams and I want to accomplish this, but I can share it openly with you.
Yeah.
I want to have a business to make money and share it with others. Like, I want to create a space and something that will support people. And I don't understand the people who are just, oh, I want to be rich and like have it all to myself and have 10 cars and huge house. And for what? Like, what is the purpose of that?
Yeah,
like,
because that's the evidence that your mom gathered when she was like, rich people are bad. Because there are people, and y'all can relate to this, there are people that just hoard and they have this scarcity mentality. Like even people that we've produced content with, I'm not going to name any names, but they don't share the content. It's like, do you think that when you pull from abundance that you actually deplete abundance? It doesn't work. Bob Proctor said, you take from abundance, abundance is still there.
Yeah.
So this mindset, I want to go back to that on our walk, because I connected the dots between what your mom told you and the walk we were on. So we're on this path, and it was 4 of us, and we're walking, and we look over in this beautiful pasture. And I said, you know, this is really possible as long as you believe it. You have to believe it first, because if you don't believe it, then nobody else will. And the universe sure will not reorganize itself around you, and it won't believe you either. But I think the challenge that most of us face early on in the wealth creation process is, how do we train ourselves to believe it? Like, what's the practical way of being? What are the tools? And I want to go into some of those that have really helped me, and also share on the pain curve, how you can lessen the pain curve, because, oh my God, I experienced a lot of pain that I didn't have to experience around money. So we're on the walk and we're looking at the field. And what did you feel when I was like, this is real, this is possible, but you actually have to own it and believe it in your cells and in your being first? Like, what came up for you?
I was imagining all the things that I'm building on the land, because I have a vision that's very specific. And I've already been seeing some lands on the island. So that it's like, it helps me mentalize into that mindset of like, this is happening. Like, I'm already selecting the perfect land, and the money will come like along at some point, somehow. I don't know how, but I just believe that it will come.
Yeah.
And it's just opening myself to the possibilities, because there's endless possibilities. We just like put ourselves in the prison, the mental prison. And oh my God, I just keep noticing like these little things. There's like, oh, I'm supposed to spend this money. And oh, like it kind of like, it creates pain. It's like, oh, I have to let go of this money. And it's like, oh, like I should be saving for the land. And so it's always teaching me something, whether it's like, I don't know, paying for gasoline or something. And it's like, oh, it's like $50. And I'm like, should I be driving so much? And I'm like, no. Like, I have money, like I have enough money to spend like as much as I want for this type of things, to have fun, to go surfing, to be in nature. And it's like, where is this coming from? So I feel like that's coming from my childhood, from what my mom said. And it's coming up in these little situations throughout the day. And I just keep noticing it. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I can spend. And like, the more I spend on the things that I enjoy and then make me feel good, it's like, yeah, like it's going to come back. And I always switch it into the mindset of like, whatever I spend is going to come back like 10 times more.
Yeah. There's one hand that says there's not enough. And then there's another hand that says there's always enough. So it is really simple. It does, just because I'm about to present something, it doesn't mean it's easy, but it is simple what I'm about to say. If you feed, there's 2 wolves in a parable in the Native American culture. And one wolf is jealous and greedy and fearful. And the other wolf is loving and giving and trustworthy. And this Native American grandfather was talking to his grandson, and the grandson was fascinated by this parable. He's like, well, grandfather, which wolf wins? Which wolf would win in a fight? And the grandfather turns to him and he says, the one that you feed. The one that you feed will win. Like, it makes the hair on my arm stand up, because it is that simple, but yet there's so many ways in which we've believed that it's complicated.
Yeah.
And so the most challenging thing that I could say as we start this conversation about money, because money, I believe, is really just a byproduct of self-worth. And I didn't learn that just from Dan Martell, but I've definitely, amalgamated it from Mike Dillard and Adrian and many other people that have come on the show to give us this part of the roof of the Pentagon, which is financial intelligence, financial nourishment, financial well-being. But I can't absorb it. I can't accept it unless I have decided, by so much pain and by so much frustration of being fucking broke and being in complete poverty, that I just have to get to a place inside of my being that says, all right, enough. I'm sick of being broke. I'm sick of being disempowered. I'm sick of working these crappy jobs that don't give me anything, that don't fulfill my soul. How do I move forward? I think the way that you actually came into our team is how you move forward. You were looking for something different. You didn't want to just work in some fucking cubicle in corporate America or corporate wherever. That, I think, is how you start. And I was told this by a mentor, and he got it from Stephen Covey. And I actually mentioned this on our walk when we were looking at the land and we were feeling into what it would actually be like to own land, to have wealth, and starting to believe it regardless of the external circumstances of it being there or not. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the most challenging part of the law of attraction is like, how do you actually manifest and attract and be a beacon for that which you want if it's not there yet? This is, I think, where faith comes in. Mm. Faith is not you having the evidence that it's here. Faith is you believing in your heart and soul that it's already on the way, that it's yours, that you have a clear intention as to what you're going to do with the money. Now, the quote from Stephen Covey is, if you want to have abundance or if you want to have wealth, the way that you get it is by helping someone else get it too. That's how you get it. You actually help someone else with their dream, with their purpose that you're aligned with. It's not like you want to go help somebody sell drugs, right? Or sell shoes or sell widgets or TV. That's not going to fulfill your soul. But you'll get to this place in life where you'll feel a little whisper. And that quote from Stephen Covey is a big one because I really believe that when it comes to instinct, it's like this flash in the pan kind of reptilian response, but it's totally different with intuition. Your intuition will whisper to you, and it'll whisper to you at night, like, go talk to this person or apply for this job or, move in that direction, hang out with these people, because there's something that you cannot know or see yet that your body or your soul already knows is true. And that's what led you to the podcast. And that's what led you to our work together. It was that little feeling of intuition that you were like, this seems pretty cool. I'm going to do this. I don't exactly know how it's going to work out. I don't have the how. I don't know exactly how it's going to roll, but I'm trusting that if I help someone else with their vision that I believe in, then eventually I'll have my vision and everybody else will believe in it too. Can you see how this perfectly unfolded for you?
Oh, I can see it clearly.
How so?
Well, first of all, it was divine timing with this job because my previous job, they just fired everybody because they ran out of money. And so
Which is what happens in corporate. Whenever there's no safety in corporate, they can just fire you whenever they want.
Yeah, it was a small company. So they just ran out of money. They just invested too much and they were like, oh, everybody has to go.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, already for a few weeks or months, I was thinking, I don't want to do this job. Like, it's not giving me anything. I'm not growing and it's kind of boring. So I was already with that thought, like, I want to find a new job. And then they said this and they were like, oh, everybody's done next week. And I was like, scared, but I was like, this is it. It's like, this is my time to do the thing that I really want to do.
Yeah.
And the same week I found this job and we had our interview. And after our first interview, I cried. I was like, with gratitude, I was like, this is my job. That was manifesting in real time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that. Oh. But I was like, this is it. This is my job. I know this is my job.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so sweet. Yeah, because when we're moving in the direction of our dream, it doesn't mean that our dreams are actualized overnight. It's like you want a garden, you want land, you in the world listening, watching, you want something. You have a desire for something. And I flash back to this piece of wisdom that I got recently on the podcast from Danielle Catherine Haig. And we were talking about the Bible. Now, I'm not a Christian per se, but I do think that there's some really cool wisdom in the Bible. And there's this phrase in this scripture in Matthew 11:24, and it is, but when you pray, believe that you have it and you shall have it. But it's actually cherry picked, y'all. And this is what people mess up about LOA. So if you get anything from our AMA today, get this. The phrase that when you pray that you believe you have it and you shall have it is good, but there's a missing part. There's two missing parts. The other part is, if you are going to share with the Creator how you will be of service and if it is in alignment with God's will. Just let that land for a second because that's the most important part. Otherwise, we'd all just be praying for fucking Ferraris. I want a Ferrari. Thank you for my Ferrari. I'll speak in the affirmative. Thank you so much for my Ferrari. But it's like, no, when you ask, believe that you have it and you shall have it, because that's what prayer meditation is, and be humble in service to what you're going to do when you receive it, and stay in humility that it's in God's will or it's in Creator's will. And I think we can only really get to that place because we're talking about how to build wealth here, right? It's only in that space of humility that I think you can really build sustainable wealth. because then your ego is really disassociated for a moment and you're asking, okay, if I want what I want, then how can I help somebody else get what they want, Stephen Covey, that's also in alignment with what I love? Because God wants us to succeed. Creator wants us to succeed. It's not like the creator is out there going, I'm going to make it as hard as possible for Mar to succeed. It's not like that. Actually, we're in a school for souls and we're learning how to navigate this insanely complex world with so much mystery. And we get to this place where our parents, God love them, they say these phrases to us like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are bad, or the only way that you can make money is by taking advantage of others. This is, I believe, an unconscious wielding of capitalism. And I'm totally open to capitalism changing. Like, I don't think that capitalism is perfect by any means. But when I look around the economic systems in the world, I don't see anything else that's better. As long as it's conscious. You can use anything unconsciously and it can hurt people, right? Like, yes, there are a lot of business owners out there that use unconscious capitalism in a way that hurts people. Yeah. But I believe in conscious capitalism, which is essentially, hey, this is what I need to fulfill my vision. Can you help me fulfill my vision? And I promise you that I'll do everything I can so that you can fulfill yours. That's reciprocal, conscious wealth building. The other side of it is, I think, where most of y'all may be, and that is you feel fucking trapped. You feel trapped. You feel like there's a part of you that is literally a slave to this job that you're working because you just need the money. And I get it. Like, I've been there. In 2014, I was working this safe corporate job and I was in debt because I was trying on the side to build my business. And I was calling forth the courage to actually speak my truth and to do what I've been doing now for 9 years. But I didn't let life hold me. I didn't trust life. And so I was served a real ass whooping in like 6 months. I put my mom in a mental home. I broke up with a woman I thought I was going to be with. It all worked out perfectly because I'm in a relationship now that's so abundant and so beautiful. And I'm living in abundance because I just got broken down to my knees to the point where I finally said, okay, God, I didn't want to commit suicide or anything, but I really spoke to God for probably the first time in my whole life at 34 years old. Because I had had a real wounding around God and a real wounding around money because of what my dad and mom told me too, just like your mom told you. And the story that was playing out for me is money causes pain. That was the subconscious words that I was attracted to that I would actually use as like this. I would wear a badge on my body and I would say, yeah, rich people are bad because money causes pain. But I connected it back in one of my healing journeys to, oh, my dad was always making money. So he wasn't around for me. Therefore, money is bad. Money causes pain because money made him be around me less. My mom was struggling with money. We were raised on welfare, which means government checks for Velveeta cheese and like no healthy foods and cereals. So coming from this construct of pain, it's no wonder I had a money wound. Yeah. It's absolutely no wonder I had a money wound. Stack on top of that the meaning that society puts on men, where as a man, I'm only as good as what I provide. I'm only as good as how many zeros are in my bank account. And you've got a Molotov cocktail for pain, which then I'm just going to continue to project that pain onto everyone else. So I'll flip this to you in a second because I want to feel what you have to say from a woman's perspective. And also from, you're a younger woman, right? You're in your low 30s.
Yeah, 31.
Yeah. So I'm 44. And I can flash back to when I was in that well of pain on my knees and truly asking God from a place of humility and service. I got this little nudge, like this little, almost like a hand on my back. And it was like, just go this way. Just trust and just go that way and just do what it is you want to do. Like really do what it is you want to do and just trust. And it was the first time that I had to be broken down to my knees essentially for me to be able to trust life, to trust the wisdom of Creator and just go forward. Was the path easy? Nope. The path was not easy, but it was in that moment where I decided, all right, I would actually rather die than be someone else's slave anymore. I don't want to be a slave in this cog in the wheel in the machine of something that I don't even believe in. I don't want to just be an employee at a company that doesn't fulfill my soul. And that was, I think, the beginning of a real self-worth, self-love journey. So I wonder from your perspective, like I come at this as a man who at that time wanted a family and wanted a wife and wanted to provide and didn't know how the hell I was going to do it. From a feminine perspective, when it comes to wealth creation, I'm curious where the roadblocks might be for you, for all the women with us listening and watching. Like what do you personally as a woman experience when it comes to creating wealth and creating financial abundance? Like what blocks come up for you around that?
I feel like one of them, what was modeled to me as a child, was that a woman cannot handle like all life by herself, like financially mainly, but like also like family life or anything. So I've been always waiting for somebody to come and save me and be like, oh, let's do this. Like, let's like help me, please. You're dealing Newtopia.
I'm a drug dealer, but it's conscious drugs. It's Newtopia, Xamner juice. Amazing for conversation.
Yeah, I already had some before.
Okay, good.
So yeah, she, like my mom modeled to me that she cannot handle all the tasks and duties on her own, and financial help is needed from a man. So I always had this mindset like, oh, if I ever want to start a business, I need to have a partner. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to do it. And so quite recently, I finally understood, okay, like I'm not going to wait for anybody to come and bring the money and like tell me, okay, we're doing this business. And I'm like, somehow I finally discovered exactly what I want to do and I'm going after it slowly. But thanks to working with you, I have the skills that I need to be able to do it. And I'm still learning, like through all the guests that we have on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm just learning so much. And I realized like without this job, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I just learned so much, like as a person, like managing content and managing people and listening to the content and learning so many different topics about so many different things. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. Like otherwise I would not be the person I am. And so like all these blocks are being removed right now. And I'm like, okay, like if there's a partner who will come in the future, great. But I'm doing this like whether they come or not, like I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because essentially, and I could be wrong, essentially, don't you think, I'm generalizing, obviously, there's women that want to be, you know, hashtag boss babe, boss bitch. That's fine. I'm not judging that, but I don't think that's in alignment with a woman's true nature. It's not to shame or blame these women. Like if that makes you happy, cool. No, zero judgment for that lifestyle. But I would guess, and I wonder how you feel about this, most women, blanket statement, really just want to be nourished and supported by a man, not because they're dumb. They're actually very intelligent. They're intelligent in a totally different way than men are. Like that's why women are the only beings on planet Earth that can birth children. And I don't care what kind of crazy dysphoria gender narrative exists out there in the world. It's all lies. It's all demonic. Women are the only beings that can grow a human in their womb. It's so special. It's so sacred. It's so beautiful. And the fact that just for the fact that they are women means that they deserve a different level of respect and a different level of support. Not because as men we should do it, but because naturally, if you're in your manhood, you will be called forth to do it in an organic way. Yeah. Not because you're, hey, woman, if I give you this, then you give me that. It's not like that. A relationship is not like a freaking reconciliation spreadsheet. There's no score that's kept, or at least in healthy ones, there's not a score. So I wonder how you feel about this. Don't you feel like most women just want to be nourished and be at home and be in the garden and be in nature and just be supported for the woman that they are by their man?
Yes.
Why?
It's just like I feel like this is like going to go against what most feminists say.
Great. Great.
I feel like women weren't made to work as hard as men. Like we're not meant to be working 8 hours a day and then go home and clean the dishes and do the laundry and take care of the children and do all of that at the same time. Like we became the provider too. And that's not our role. And like we're suffering a lot through that. Like I felt it. Like right now I'm doing good. Like I'm enjoying the work that I do. I don't have children, so I have the time. But I see a lot of people struggling. And I saw my mom struggling too. It's like she modeled to me that it's like becoming a mother is difficult. Like you don't have fun. You don't have friends. You're on your own. It's like you're doing everything and it's like it's hard work. And that's why I didn't want to be a mother for a long time. So yeah, like I want to be in the garden. I want to be at home. I don't mind being a stay-at-home mom as long as I have some purpose and things that I have passion for.
All right, we just got 100 subscribes and 100 unsubscribes. But look, y'all, if you stand for everything, you fall for anything. I'm sorry, not sorry. Like if you try to please everyone and not be who you are, like if that's your core belief, great.
Yeah.
And if you had some other core belief, I would respect that too. It doesn't mean I have to agree with you. And this is actually the beauty that fits right into the conversation about wealth creation. There's no one way to create wealth. There's no one way to be a man or be a woman. But there are tried and true proven practices that get you there with less pain. And I feel like if we just follow the laws of nature, where if a man truly loves a woman, that he provides for her because he loves her, not because he has to. If a woman truly loves a man and she wants to create a family, she feels and deserves to be supported and be in the garden because that's how special she is. Like women, another phrase from the Bible, and y'all take whatever you want from this and leave the rest, is that the man is the head, but the woman is the crown. The woman is actually the crown that sits on the head of the family. So the man may be providing, but he's providing for her, which is so special. And I think that's been really accosted by the feminist movement. Now, the feminist movement is not all bad. It started out very pure. It had some good ideals, good morals, right? Like equal pay and equal treatment and respect. These are great things. But along the way, just like most movements, I think feminism got accosted and pulled into essentially women leaving the home and creating double tax revenue for the IRS. I mean, that really was the construct that feminism was driven by. And if you look at most of the research, it was from the Rockefeller family, and there's a whole deep, dark hole if you want to go down that. The reason I'm saying this is because we're talking about creating wealth. And I believe that we can only create wealth if we have embodied all of these different aspects that you and I have talked about today so far. One of the things that I remember Mike Dillard telling me, and we'll link this episode in the show notes, is that he used to earn money and he would lose it. He would find a way to lose it. But like he would make millions of dollars and then he would lose millions of dollars because he was addicted to the serotonin, dopamine dumps that would happen that would remind him of his life, his childhood. So he had to actually build a new faculty. He had to build a mindset around making wealth and keeping wealth. Now we're talking about making wealth, right? But just because you make it doesn't mean that you are going to vibrationally hold it. And I can think to myself, like when I have as much money as I have in the bank, I really love it and I really respect it. It's not like I sleep like, you know, Scrooge McDuck and I sleep with money. I'm not like, money, I love you, and I'm making out with money. It's not like that. It's more like I love the vehicle and the energy that money provides for my family and our staff and the podcast and our movement, because money is oxygen. Money allows you to breathe. We're in this existential tension loop where so many people are financially disempowered that they are literally walking around all day with this constant IV drip of sympathetic activation, because all the time running in the back of their head is, you're broke, you need to make money, you need to work harder. It's just this incessant fucking dragon that I know y'all can feel that constantly just eats at your soul. Have you ever felt that before?
Oh yeah, it's just like this burning, and maybe that's a burnout sensation. It's just like burning inside you, and you're just like, you don't want to be here, but you feel like you can't leave, and you just like have to stay and like push through. And oh my God, that's the worst feeling. And I'm so happy I haven't felt that in years now.
I just exhale because it's so exhausting. It's like, I've said this before, we're only as liberated as our darkest secrets. And if you secretly hate what you're doing, relationship, job, whatever, it's going to exhaust you. And eventually you're going to get sick. Like for me, it was massive sinus infections that were connected to youth, antibiotic use, like you name it, I've been there, like parasites, all kinds of crap. And my mentor, Paul Chek, told me this. He's like, a parasite can only live in a body that has space for it to live in. Demonic energy, or Wetiko, can only live in a body where you've actually unconsciously made an agreement for it to live in you. So it's not like Wetiko is inherently evil. It's actually the balance of evil and good, or dark and light, or love and fear, that allows you to meet the protector inside of you that makes you stronger. In other words, I may harbor Wetiko, I may harbor fear, but I am not that fear. I am not that Wetiko. I'm just a human being who's learning how to clean his or her vessel so that I can be really solid and strong and pure, so that when money does come around, or when I'm on my purpose, that I actually have the strength to hold it. And I think we see this a lot with really wealthy people, like people that have been on Shark Tank, or even, I don't know if you've heard of this, like people that win the lottery and they'll get like $100 million bucks. And then in 3 years, they're a drug addict on the street. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, many times.
It's because they haven't developed the maturity and the respect and the spirituality around money. This is why on the screen right now at the top of the Pentagon, I put money and spirituality on the roof, because on the floor is our physical. We have our mental and emotional as the walls. That's the construct of our being. And then on the ceiling is spiritual connection to our creator. Right next to it is financial health, because if you're not connected to something, right, that which created us. I remember we were in a talk yesterday and Michael Osterlink was like, some people have wounding about the word God, which I respect. I had a wounding around the word God. I can say it now and it's no big deal. But unless you have a clear spiritual connection to something bigger and you're humble and you can actually live this Mark 11:24 prayer, and in alignment with that, you're curious, you're interested in what finance can do for you, then we're just going to raise our children to be poor, who are going to raise their children to be poor. It's just like this all wretch and no vomit that Alan Watts speaks about. We're just raising our children to raise the same people. And it's like, my goal is that actually Nova and Naya grow up to be more abundant than me and better than me in so many ways. And the same thing for our team. Like all of us, I want to, of course I want to work with y'all forever, but I know there's a day down the road where you'll become so valuable to the marketplace, and you'll have so much value and skill set that you've grown in you, that I'll get to give you a hug and wish you on your way, right? And that's just like the joy and the journey of life. And I think if we can have this mindset, a true, not esoteric, not spiritual bullshit babble, like true embodiment of abundance, I think that we also have to come to terms with that there's always a beginning, middle, and end in our life. And I think when it comes to money, really what we all deeply fear is, if I don't have money, then I won't be able to eat, then I won't be safe, then I'll die. It's like this unconscious framework that I'm speaking about. And I wonder, as we close the AMA today, it's like, how do you personally believe in your low 30s that you will create this wealth, right? Obviously, working with our team is a part of that. But for everybody out there who's got a dream, they've got a purpose they're working on, what are the other ways in which you feel as a woman and as a soul that you are going to create wealth? In other words, what do you believe about yourself that you know that you will create wealth for yourself? Because this is the core question that everyone must ask.
I feel like it's just really knowing. It's not like wondering if or when. It's just knowing it's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. And I feel like the desire that I have is driven by selfless desire. And that's the most powerful type of force that can drive you to achieve something. Because I don't want to buy things. I don't need like another phone, or I don't need like more clothes or buy stuff. Like, I don't care about those things. Like I told you yesterday, like I came with a little backpack because I don't need anything. Like,
oh, yeah, everybody else has suitcases. Mar has this little like cotton backpack.
Yeah. Yes, I
with like 2 outfits in it.
I literally don't need anything for myself, just the basic stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to like give to people. I want to offer something to people and like make them feel good, make them feel supported and loved, and just be there in community. So I want to offer that. So I feel like that's a big part of it. And I also believe that everybody talks about manifestation, and it's like, oh, you got to believe this and you got to like manifest everything. But if you're just sitting at home watching the TV, you're not going to achieve it. Like, you got to have a plan. And so I created a calendar, and it's like I have things that I'm working on. So I'm making it happen consciously. It's not just like waiting for it. Like, I'm doing things to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The calendar's big. You know, there's something really special about the calendar and journaling and actually writing it down, because it becomes this declaration that you believe and that you're telling others. I remember yesterday, and he'll be a future guest on the podcast, we had Michael Osterlink here, which was really a treat, just speaking about emotional resilience. And after 30 years of working with couples and multiple decades working with special forces, he's learned a lot about human psyche and how we interrelate and how we think and how our thoughts become things. And one thing that he said was, you know, the real way to do anything in life is to have curiosity, playfulness, and openness. How can I be curious about building wealth? How can I actually like make it a game? Because that's really what this is. we're in a big game here. I don't know if y'all got the memo, but like you're in a game. That's why you're here watching our game, because part of our game resonates with your game. Cool. But the openness and the curiosity and the playfulness, I really feel are so powerful. But it's the exact opposite, Mar. It's the exact opposite of what your mom told you, what my mom told me, and what story I fabricated about why my dad wasn't around. And I think that's the big takeaway here is, do not always believe the stories, the beliefs that you have told yourself, that you believe. Be willing to die every day. Be willing to die every day about what you think is real, what society tells you. If I would have listened to society, I did not graduate from college. I did not do anything that the typical person would do. I've hired and fired people with master's degrees. I just went on the journey of loving and believing myself and being open to my beliefs being fucking shattered. And I think if you do that, you will make way more money, 20, 50, 100 times more money and wealth than you ever would following the quote safe path. Because as we close, I'll just say, there is no safety except for the safety we create. There's no such thing as financial security unless you love yourself and you believe in yourself enough to create it and to hold on to it and to further perpetuate this legacy where you're not just making the money that you make and the garden that you grow and the house that you have about you. You're thinking about, wow, what will my children have? And how can I give that to my children? There's a picture of my grandfather in the studio and an altar and a clock in the gym. And I think about all the sacrifices that he made to become financially mature. And we're still feeling his energy now. And so that's the gift that I think we all can give with money is, what will your children do with the money that you earn, with the wealth that you create? Like that to me is a well that's never ending. And I believe if we can do that, as well as all the other things that we've talked about today, which is quite a bit, you can head over to joshtrent.com/681. And if you want to ask Mara a question to get her perspective, if you want to ask me a question to get my perspective, if you're with us on this journey of not being a fucking slave, of being liberated physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, head over to joshtrent.com/podcast. Subscribe to the podcast. If you want to be a part of something very special that we're in the process of building, go over to liberatedlife.com. And on that page, you can learn about the community that's forming where you can actually give ideas, share ideas, receive wisdom, integrate that wisdom, and be practical so that you don't have this self-sabotage, this bullshit, this anxiety, these ruminating thoughts, and all this stuff that's controlled you for so long. If you feel stuck, head over to liberatedlife.me. Okay, Mar, we covered some ground. What did we miss when it comes to money? It was a blend of like spirituality and some esoteric, but also I feel like if y'all listen, there's some really practical nuggets that you could apply in your life. But I wonder what you think we glossed over on. What could we have gone deeper into?
I feel like we could have gone even deeper into the spirituality. Because I feel like if you're driven by like some higher power, your intentions are going to be good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the difference between the bad guys that have money and the good guys that have money.
Sure.
Create something good in the world.
Yeah. All right, let's go into that for one minute. So what is spirituality? What do you believe spirituality is?
Well, that's a broad question.
Go for it.
Spirituality for me is just having the awareness to see all the little signs that life gives you. Because every situation is teaching you something. And I'm that type of person. I was always thinking like, oh, I need to take that course to learn something and that course to become whatever I want to become. And I just started listening to the signs. And that's like how I share it about money. Like I can notice, oh, I'm paying this and I feel this. Why? Like, what is it trying to teach me? And so that's kind of my approach to life. Just having the awareness to look and listen for the lessons.
Yeah, what I got from you is having this really broad lens and scope of awareness to not connect so much with the me or the I, but as Muji talks about, one of the great spiritual teachers, can you be in the isness? Can you actually be a onlooker or an observer of your situation and not connect so much in the I or the me, which is essentially the ego? I'm not saying the ego is bad. We have so many podcasts that talk about that. Ego is actually your friend. The ego is the amigo. It's not the enemy. But an integrated ego is one that can even take in what I'm about to share. You have to allow yourself to be integrated by this. When you're watching yourself from a high view and you have an increased lens of awareness, you can actually see things about yourself that are blocking you, that if you were just connected with your pain and your life or your victimhood, you'd never see it. It's like unconscious incompetence. You don't even know that you don't know it's there. So the only way to really integrate and embody what you're talking about, I believe, is to have a practice where you zoom out of your life and you disconnect from just being Mar or Josh or John or Nancy or Jim or Sage. Like, you just pull back and take a breath and do some breath work or do something, some kind of practice that allows you to float really high above your life. And from that vantage point, if you just ask the question, God creator, what are you here to teach me? How can I be most humble to learn whatever you're wanting to teach me? You just ask that question with a pure heart and you disassociate from your pain and from your drama and from your craziness. Something rad will come in, something beautiful will come in. And that's 100% guarantee. Like, I'm not here to lie to you or to fabricate anything, but if you do that practice I just shared with you, I promise you wholeheartedly that some little whisper, some little message will come in at the perfect time. And that's spirituality. I think spirituality is a broad scope of awareness and a connection to the thing that created us. It's a very reductionistic explanation of spirituality. I know spirituality has many limbs, but I think it's really just this understanding that you are not who you think you are. Neither am I. We're so much bigger. We're so connected to that which created us and to each other. And also spirituality, I believe, is all the ways in which we integrate that knowing.
Yeah.
Because without the integration of that knowing, which has many steps, it's truly impossible to be a spiritual person without integration. That's a whole nother podcast. Let's stop there. Okay. From my heart, from Mars' heart, until we see you on another AMA, drop your questions, please. joshtrent.com/AMA. If you don't want to speak your question, you can always write it. You can do podcast@wellnessandwisdom.com. We have to create that email. Podcast@wellnessandwisdom.com. Okay, y'all. We'll speak with you very soon. Until we speak with you, until you speak with us, we're both wishing you love and wellness.